On May 17, 2019, Kelsey Mazzina woke up early to clean her bicycle, a Trek carbon fiber road bike meant for serious bikers. She polished the finish, pumped up the tires, and cleaned the chain. Her dad, a bike shop owner, had just tuned up her ride and tricked it out, putting her initials on the front stem and wrapping the handlebars. She was looking forward to her ride to work.
I had some time to myself and I was like, I'm going to make a point of enjoying it for me. And instead of just going through the motions, I was like, I'm going to clean up my bike and I'm going to bike, 100% for me just to enjoy it. And I'm going to think about how great it is the entire way.
But Kelsey didn't make it the entire way. Within an hour, her shiny bike was a crumpled wreck and she was laying in the road, dazed and scared for her life.
I was in the roundabout. And right as I entered, I could see the guy approaching from there, but he wasn't in the roundabout. He was still a ways off. So I went ahead and entered the roundabout, figuring that he would stop.
But he did not stop. And in a split second, an athlete's life was changed forever.
I just remember this really surreal moment pushed up on the hood of the car. And the only thing I could think of was, oh my God, did I really just get hit by this car? And I kept waiting to snap out of the moment because it felt so surreal. What happened was my foot got caught under the car somehow. The rest of my body was up over the hood of the car, and this foot was caught under the car like this and dragged as he drove. And that's what broke it and dislocated it.
The impact snapped her ankle, a gruesome injury, and Kelsey couldn't even look at it. But more than pain, she felt terror. A cold terror that still haunts her to this day.
I was just terrified that someone else was going to hit me. I was going to try to crawl out of the road, but a bunch of people came and they were like, don't move, don't move. And I was trying to fight them because I was really scared that I was going to get hit by another car.
As the ambulance rushed Kelsey to Shands, the panic quickly spread to her family. Her brother Michael took the call.
It was like, what? She got hit by a car? Does that mean... I just wasn't sure how she was doing, if she was going to die, but I was hoping she would just be able to stay in my life. My sister's the only one I could really talk to and open about every single thing in my life. I couldn't replace her with anyone.
Michael tried to reach their mother, a grief counselor with hospice.
I had to call her 4 or 5 times, and then I would stop for a few minutes, and then I'd call her again. And then when I got all hold of her, I told her Kelsey was hit by a car.
And he said, Mom, Kelsey's been hit by a car. And I've been a hospice counselor for 20 years. And so obviously my first thought was, oh my God, she's dead. It's the call that no parent wants to get. And when you get it, you just freeze. It's like a sense of terror and a sense of numbness, almost like the deer in the headlights. It's terrifying.
The injury to Kelsey's leg was severe. When she got to Shands, doctors could not even find a pulse in her foot. She knew what that meant.
If there wasn't blood flow, then it becomes an amputation risk. And that was absolutely horrifying. And I didn't, even drugged up Kelsey, did not know how to handle the thought of losing my foot for good. They finally got the orthopedic surgeon and he managed to find one. And I was so relieved. I was like, oh my God, I think that means I get to keep my foot.
But Kelsey's relief was short-lived. The doctor was about to reset her foot.
They just take it and kind of move it into place, which is extremely painful. And then he had to hold it like that for a good long while. And he said, I know this is it really hurts. He said, but if I can do this, it's going to be better in the long run.
Which was the most painful thing I've ever experienced in my entire life, which is saying something.
The accident snapped Kelsey's left fibula at the ankle. Doctors pieced it back together with a metal plate and 8 screws. The surgery took hours, but while the doctors could save her foot, they were not able to save her dream of serving in the military.
So that night in the hospital, I remember my mom was sitting in the chair next to me. I just started crying, and I looked at my mom and I said, "Mom, I don't think I can go into the military after this." She was just there for me and let me kind of grieve that dream, and that was the hardest part for me of that night.
Ever since she was little, all Kelsey ever wanted was to be a soldier.
Oh, it's that army thing that I saved enough for.
Look at that!
I first wanted to be in the military when I was a little kid. I would run around in like a soldier outfit.
I gave Kelsey a military getup for her 5th birthday, and I also gave her one of those toy swords from Mulan, and oh my God, was she thrilled. Kelsey was always enamored with the idea of heroism and strength and agility, and I think that's where her drive for physical fitness came from. Even as a little kid, she used to just love the idea of being strong and saving people or protecting people. I used to buy her these little superhero figurines, and she just loved those. For Kelsey's 21st birthday, I took her and Michael and her best friend Nilsa. I took them to Washington, D.C. for a week. And the day that we went to Arlington National Cemetery was very, very special. Kelsey spent a lot of time looking at the exhibit honoring women in the military. I could tell that just meant a lot to her.
When I think about the people at Arlington, you know, I think to myself, they were heroes, and these are the soldiers that allowed us to continue to live and free in the United States. And I'm so grateful for everything they did. And I don't know, I felt lost in how immense everything was. To be able to fight for something I believed in, because I do. Like, I love the country, and I would be honored to serve with the people in the Army or the Navy or the Marines. They're all absolutely incredible. They want to protect people, and that's something I think that really resonated with me. I really wanted to protect people. I used to work night shift in the call center.
It's going to be processed using tomorrow's closing market prices, and you'll receive.
And I would, when I wasn't on a call, I would just look at the Army page, and I would imagine what it would be like to be in the Army. You know, I give a lot of reasons, like I wanted to I wanted to develop as a person, or I wanted to serve my country. And I think those are all very true. But I think and I don't know why it's so hard to say, but I think I just wanted to be a hero. I mean, I just couldn't shake it. I kept coming back to it. When I thought of what do I want to do with my life, I was like, that's even if I can't do it forever. To this day, I hear about it, and I'm very grateful for everything they did, and I'm also jealous because I wish I could have done it too.
Now, everything was different. Instead of running obstacle courses, Kelsey was stuck on the sofa, in unbearable pain and utterly dependent on others.
Every single day felt like a lifetime.
The collision had not just broken Kelsey's leg, it had broken her spirit. She was just lost.
I mean, I was really depressed. I was really, really, really upset because I was just stuck there.
That had to be complete torture for Kelsey because she was always so physically active. She was always running and jumping and climbing things. If there was a hard way or an easy way to get from here to there, she would always pick the hard way because she wanted that challenge. When she was in high school, I used to pick her up and after school take her to a rock climbing wall. She loved that. She loved climbing trees even as an adult. And then, of course, there was the rowing. Kelsey had been a competitive, award-winning rower in high school. As a senior, she was named Rower of the Year, and her boat went to nationals that same season.
Kelsey had a love of rowing that, came from deep inside of her, and it was her passion for years, and I think it still is. I think she liked it because it was tough, it was hard, it was challenging. It was a sense of freedom and power.
I loved working as a team, and I really liked kind of driving myself to be the very best that I could be, and encouraging my teammates to be the best they can be, and then competing against them. Like, that was great. I loved that about rowing.
She continued rowing in college for the University of Florida.
She was getting up at 4 a.m. to be able to get out there on the lake, go to school, go to practice in the afternoon.
It was a strenuous schedule and a strenuous sport, but Kelsey loved it, and she had hoped to keep rowing as an adult. But now,
I don't have the range of motion, and it also is somewhat painful whenever I stress my dorsiflexion to its limit. Like, I definitely feel it's almost a pressure and then a sharp pain in the inner part of the ankle and then the outer here.
Crew is, one, just brutal on your body, but the force of and the pressure on that ankle, that foot, that damaged area, it just, I don't think it could withhold the pressure.
If I was able to row again, I don't think I'd be able to row at the intensity that I used to row at. And not because of any kind of fitness limitation, but definitely because of the physical limitation of my ankle and the restriction of my dorsiflexion.
Take one more moment here in your meditation posture.
Today, Kelsey can do light yoga, and even there, she faces limits because her ankle is weak and simply won't move that way anymore. She used to do squats with weights of 250 pounds or more. Now, she can't even do one simple squat in her living room.
It's not something where if I were to just go to the gym more, I would be able to build it up. It's like there's an actual restriction there in terms of how my ankle functions. Once I get to here, I just hit a wall. It's like I just can't move it anymore, and it just starts to hurt. It's not like I could move it more if I tried, I just can't move it.
She goes jogging now instead of cycling, and even though she loves bicycling, she rarely rides anymore and never in traffic, only on trails. And gone are the days when she could simply hop up out of bed and get going.
I wake up some mornings and sometimes I'll have to stretch it a few times just when I wake up. Like, it just feels so stiff and I have to work into it, I feel like. And then especially since I have taken up running, I've noticed that at night I'll get, it almost feels like a restless ankle syndrome. It's never really comfortable and I have to move it.
At 26 years of age, Kelsey already constantly accommodates her injured ankle and worries about the future.
But I can't help but think, I have a plate and God knows how many screws in there. I already have stiffness, and I call it my old ankle. Because it just feels like when an older person is like, oh, my joints hurt. That's kind of what that ankle feels like. If it feels old now, how old is it going to feel in 30, 40 years?
Years from now, what is she going to experience? Is she going to have arthritis? When is she going to get these pins and this plate out? Are they going to keep it in? And she's described what it feels like. She said, it feels like I have a cement block in my foot and in my leg.
So, no military career, her favorite activities limited or eliminated entirely, The collision took away Kelsey's dreams and left her with nightmares, literally nightmares. Those began the day she was hit.
I mean, the very first night, I had the nightmare multiple times. Like every single time I closed my eyes, I was getting hit by the car again. So I didn't sleep. I think it was just like that moment when I was hit. It was so surreal. My mind couldn't, for weeks it was grappling with the reality of that I was just hit by a car. And I think it was kind of the terror that I didn't feel when I was being hit. I felt in the nightmares afterwards. You know, I would wake up and I'd be terrified because I was just hit by the car again. I was just back on the hood of the car being pushed up against it, and I just felt so trapped every time I went to sleep. And I didn't have my conscious brain there to be like, it's okay, you know, you made it. I was just stuck getting hit by the car again every night, and it was awful. And I'd wake up and I'd be like sweaty and my heart would be racing, and it was terrible.
And that terror did not disappear when she was awake. It is there every time she gets in a car.
I used to believe that as long as I did my part and made sure I could make myself as safe as possible, I would be fine. And I think there's a change. Like I can't control it. I can't control it. And I mean, someone could hit me. Even if I'm not doing anything wrong, someone could hit me. And it's terrifying. I've thought to myself when I've had to go out to the grocery store or something, do I really want to get in the car? And do I really want to drive? And do I want to deal with that? And I've stayed home, like I just haven't gone. I mean, I try to avoid it whenever possible, and I know that's really bad, and that you're supposed to just put yourself in situations where you're exposed to it. And I try, like I really try. I drove myself to work. I made sure I did all my errands. And I was just terrified every single time. It's still terrifying.
I taught Kelsey to drive, and she's a very good driver, very safe, very careful. But I would have to say that she was less nervous learning to drive than she is driving today, because today she's a nervous wreck.
I'm constantly thinking about what if this person hits me? And I have to play music really loud so that way I can focus on that instead of on the road. Otherwise there are times where I've had like panic attacks, and I'm just sitting in the